Chapter 4. Angelica parked at the port. The early summer weather had brought out hundreds of people, all milling around at the cafés, restaurants and shops in the pretty port area of Javea. The most popular spot to see and be seen was the promenade at the front, where cafés arranged tables on both sides of the walkway. You had the choice of being as close to the seawall as possible or on the opposite side of the walkway where you could see everything was there to be seen. A coffee played on her mind, but she decided to park that thought. Something told her that she would get the opportunity to sit down with a nice drink later in the day. She walked along the row of shops that were being passed by as the others congregated around the port area were flocking to the front. She liked to zig when the world zagged. It gave her the feeling that she was doing her own thing, not herded by the way the rest of them were acting. She had eyed up a few ornaments in the weeks prior in one of the nicer shops in the port. The collection of outlets ranged from the functional to the higher end. If she really wanted something uber expensive, then she would have to venture much further, probably to the shops in Alicante or Valencia. But she didn't have the time nor the budget for that. Walking into the shop, she was immediately entranced by the items contained within. She loved everything in there, from the citrus-coloured kitchen implements to the gadgets that would toast a sandwich in seconds or make pasta that tasted like the stuff in the restaurants rather than the stuff in supermarkets. She looked out of the window at the early summer sun. It was more than welcome. It wasn't that the sun had disappeared for months before, the way that it did in the northeast of England. It was that the warmth signalled a new summer season. It was Angelica's favourite time of the year. People would flock to Javea from all over the world. Estate agents' offices would be packed as people fell in love with Javea as tourists and thought about becoming residents. This was when Angelica made her money. As a keen amateur photographer, she sold the odd image through her website. But when there were homes being sold, she was in much higher demand. She would take marketing images for estate agents, helping them to sell homes for a smallish fee. Another reason for the sunshine to bring a smile to her face. Back to the shopping, Angelica spotted a pair of vases. They had caught her eye before when she was window shopping. In red and blue, they were a pair but weren't identical. The aperture of the vases reached up into the sky as though they were trying to grab hold of something. They would be perfect to put small bunches of flowers in. Tommy was now old enough that he didn't crash into the furniture multiple times a day, so they wouldn't get knocked off and smashed. She decided that these were the perfect ornaments to embellish her home and make it more personal to Tommy and her. She looked around for a member of staff to help her. As she looked around the shop interior, Angelica's eyes met with someone else. Someone she knew. Someone that wasn't a member of staff at the shop. He walked towards her with an understated smile on his face. "Angelica!" he exclaimed, holding out his arms for a hug. "Javi!" she replied, reaching in for the hug. She felt safe in his arms. "How are you?" Javi asked. The man's full name was Javi Jones. His heritage a mix of Welsh and Spanish. He was the homicide detective at the local police station. Their paths had crossed the December before when Angelica and her brother Augustine found a body in the sea. Angelica got the detecting bug and helped crack the case. In truth, she had waited for another opportunity to do the same. Would anyone hire a photographer to solve murder cases on their behalf? Probably not. Immediately after the murder case, Angelica looked out for Javi every time she left her apartment. She would park as near as possible to the police station, walking slowly past the cafe where Javi, Augustine and Angelica had enjoyed a strong coffee. But to no avail. After a few weeks of this, she dropped back into her old life. She still had the inking that she would get involved in detecting again, that she would meet Javea again. And here he was. "I'm good," she replied, still not letting go of him. He felt like a pillar of strength. He was like the safe man she needed when her ex, Patty, was beating her. Angelica knew that if Javea was in her life at that point in time, Patty wouldn't have got away with his nastiness. "Fancy a coffee?" he asked as they broke their hold. His skin smelled fresh, and there was something familiar about his aftershave. Angelica blushed a little and nodded.